What is going on, everybody? It's the Frost. I'm here for Unscripted, episode number 81. This is your Unscripted for this week. I know it's on a Sunday. I believe Unscripted should be moving to Sundays permanently due to the fact that SmackDown is coming to Fridays in October, and usually on Fridays is when I record Unscripted, Friday nights going into Saturdays. I know it's going to get a little bit harder when we have takeovers. Takeover will be starting in about an hour and a half as I record this, so we should be getting this done right before that. Takeover is going to probably be another top-notch card. Top-notch card. Is it going to be the best? Probably not. It's going to be kind of hard to beat what they've done already this year. But, of course, you have Gargano versus Cole in the main event. You have the tag team title match. You have the triple threat North American Championship match. And 2 women's matches, one for the women's title and one in a grudge match. So it should still be a damn good card. SummerSlam, of course, is going to be happening this coming Sunday from the Scotiabank Arena in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. NXT was actually, if I want to be honest, NXT was a missable show this week. For the simple fact is, it was go home, and this wasn't a normal go home for NXT. NXT usually has about two or three small showcase matches for talent who aren't going to be on NXT Takeover. They had Joaquin Wilde versus Shane Thorne, and was supposed to have Matt Riddle versus Killian Dane. That match would have been awesome, I think, but I think they're saving that for War Games. If my money is right, I'm sure we're going to be building this match up for War Games, which is the next takeover in November. And they might be in the War Games match on opposite teams, who knows, but for now, it did not happen. There was a contract signing, and nothing else really happened. Raw, SmackDown, biggest things coming out of Raw and SmackDown was the whodunit with Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns comes out. Looks like we might have had Samoa Joe turn babyface, as he was confronting Roman Reigns when a mystery assailant hit Roman Reigns' car, and Joe was the first one there. He checked up on him. It might be something where, and it looked like we could possibly have Rowan and Daniel Bryan versus Joe and Roman Reigns had they started this feud or this entire mystery the night after Extreme Rules. He was done with Shane McMahon. He was off to do something else. This is the problem with Raw Reunion as well. Monday Night Raw had an entire week of build towards SummerSlam scrapped. Monday Night Raw really didn't build towards SummerSlam outside of that Battle Royal until the week after Raw Reunion, which was 2 weeks till SummerSlam. It was bad. Absolutely terrible to put that Raw Reunion. Raw Reunion should be happening on Monday, this coming Monday, but no. Especially with the fact that Stone Cold Steve Austin's show straight up is premiering right after Monday Night Raw. This would have been the perfect time to have the Raw Reunion, because Clash of Champions is probably going to be a lot of rematches from SummerSlam, so it wouldn't have been as big of a deal. But no, they decided we're going to have Raw Reunion. Waste a week of build towards the biggest party of the summer, the second biggest pay-per-view of the year, and so the whole Roman Reigns attack angle, which was probably supposed to lead to a big SummerSlam match between Roman Reigns and possibly Daniel Bryan, is not going to happen. That's fine. Roman doesn't need to be on TV or on SummerSlam. Roman can miss SummerSlam. He missed the Royal Rumble. I know it was because of other circumstances, but the Royal Rumble went off without a hitch without him. People need to stop having this misconception that WWE has to have Roman on big pay-per-views to run. Roman Reigns was not, WWE was not built with Roman Reigns in mind. There was WWE before Roman, and there's going to be possibly WWE after Roman. So him not being on SummerSlam is not that big of a miss. Now, the other thing from Monday Night Raw was the women's tag team titles are on around Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross's waist right now, or on their shoulders, or wherever they hold them. Executive Director Paul Heyman made this decision to put the women's tag team title change on this week's Raw instead of SummerSlam, according to Wrestling Observer newsletter. The Observer previously reported that the Fatal 4-Way, which saw Nikki Cross and Bliss capture the titles by defeating former tag team champions the Idiotics, Fire and Desire, and Asuka and Kairi Sane, was scheduled for the SummerSlam card. The match ended up happening on this week's go-home show of Raw. There's no word yet on why Heyman moved the match, but it was speculated that they may have figured the title change could mean more with a longer match, which could be done on Raw and could be showcased better on Raw instead of being a forgotten part of a long pay-per-view card. It's interesting to note that Cross and Bliss won the titles as Asuka and Kairi Sane were being groomed for the titles not too long ago. On this, from what I think it was announced on WWE's Twitter page, is that there will be an Asuka and Kairi Sane versus Nikki Cross and Alexa Bliss tag team title match on Monday Night Raw this coming Monday. If that's true and if that's actually happening, one, that's one more title defense right out of the gate and a legit title defense that the Idiotics would not have. And two, could it possibly be that Asuka and Kairi Sane win the tag team titles 1 week after having a tag team title match and losing? Who's to say? And it was like, if that's the case, then why didn't you just give them the titles last week? I have no idea. In other news, SummerSlam card Drew McIntyre vs. Cedric Alexander was on the initial lineups last week, but it was not announced on Monday's Raw. As of Thursday's morning, it was not scheduled to happen. The officials did have meetings planned to finalize SummerSlam's card this week, so it's possible they can confirm another match or two. It would not surprise me that on the kickoff show we will see Drew McIntyre versus Cedric Alexander. We do have a 1 hour kickoff show, so the fact that we have the Cruiserweight Championship match, I don't see that happening, but it could still happen. We'll have to wait and see, and we'll have that reaction for you. If it does happen, I fully expect Drew McIntyre to beat Cedric Alexander. If not, I don't know why he would do that. Now, Monday Night Raw, we also had Goldberg make his return as he signed a contract to face off against Dolph Ziggler. And of course, it was originally supposed to be Dolph Ziggler versus The Miz, and it looked like we were going to have these two sign their contract, and we were going to go on our merry way. But apparently, The Miz was just playing a ruse on Dolph Ziggler and had Goldberg waiting in the wings. Ziggler will face Goldberg at SummerSlam, and then on the next night, he will be facing The Miz. There you go. Other than that, not much else really happened on Monday Night Raw that was really worth talking. I mean, we did have another beatdown on Seth Rollins. Whoop-de-fucking-do. Quite honestly, with how badly Seth Rollins has opened his mouth and inserted his foot over and over again, and we'll talk about something here in a bit, he kind of deserved the beatdowns he got from Brock Lesnar, and nobody, I don't want Brock Lesnar being champion, but nobody wants Seth Rollins to be Universal Champion. Nobody. WWE and Seth Rollins himself have fucked up the entire Seth Rollins character completely. Turn this motherfucker heel in the baddest way. Have him turn on Roman. I don't care. We need heel Seth Rollins again because that's where Seth was at his best. Seth Rollins 2018 up until SummerSlam was his best heel babyface run at all. And now Seth Rollins is going into this entire this entire SummerSlam build, and nobody cares. He tried to be a sympathetic babyface after getting beat down this past Monday, and what happened? There was what chant? There was booing. No one cared, and it's no one to blame but WWE and Seth Rollins himself. SmackDown Live. Man, SmackDown Live. All these rewrites, everything just going all ham-fisted. Man, it's just so crazy how SmackDown Live just cannot go without having a rewrite. Let's see here. We have a lot more SmackDown to talk about later, but right now, SmackDown was rewritten again. Current plan for this past Monday Night Raw, at the time of the writing as I got this article, Daniel Bryan and Rowan versus Xavier Woods and WWE Champion Kofi Kingston, according to Dave Meltzer. It was noted that Vince McMahon tore up the original script for SmackDown SummerSlam Go Home Edition around 2 hours before the show, which would be the third week in a row that McMahon has rewritten the show hours before it went live. The original plan for the Blue Brand was Bryan versus Kingston in a singles match, but the tag was leaked after Vince made his big change. It was announced that the show would also have Kofi addressing Randy Orton ahead of the SummerSlam match, plus Shane McMahon making an appearance on The Kevin Owens Show. Now, SmackDown, I don't know what's up with Vince McMahon. This is the third week in a row that he has rewrote SmackDown. And I don't know what what the entire plan was going into SmackDown that he had to rewrite. But SmackDown has not been that bad of a show in the last 3 weeks. Of course, the last 3 weeks are significant because these are the first 3 weeks under new executive director Eric Bischoff. And since he's been on the job for real, Vince McMahon has tore up the script every single time. The shows have felt a little bit better. They don't feel like they were like they didn't feel like raw light anymore. Like you had logic, like actual logic being used 2 weeks ago or last week. This week you had Daniel Bryan, and it's just like the career altering announcement also from Daniel Bryan seems to be gone to the wayside. I don't know what's going on with that, but the career altering announcement of Daniel Bryan has just flooded away and gone. I don't know what's going there. It's just whatever Vince McMahon's doing on SmackDown Live, he needs to do on Monday Night Raw, because Monday Night Raw is just absolutely god awful every single week. Everyone's got those rose-colored glasses on, thinking, "Oh, Paul Heyman's making a difference. Paul Heyman's making a difference." He hasn't made a difference one iota. The women's tag team title match was okay. Yes, I know what it was is that Paul Heyman or somebody figured that, hey, this Fatal 4-Way tag team match has no business being on SummerSlam, so let's put it here where we can actually have the titles be changed hands and people won't actually try to give a fuck. Because I'm telling you, we get the SummerSlam tonight, and that match happened as soon as Kofi Kingston and Randy Orton had their match, or AJ Styles and Ricochet had their match, or even Seth Rollins and Brock Lesnar getting booed out of the building. Nobody would remember that match, even no matter who won the titles. Fire and Desire could have won it. Twisted Bliss, which I'm calling from now on, could win it. Shane and Asuka could win it. And the match would not mean a damn, because it probably would have been a one fall to the finish. The elimination thing would have never happened. And the match would have just went by the wayside. Also, on Monday Night Raw, you had, also I forgot to mention this, Andrade versus Rey Mysterio, which apparently was supposed to be, looked like it was building to a hair versus mask match, which isn't going to happen at SummerSlam. Then on SmackDown, Sami Zayn versus Aleister Black, which was supposed to be on SummerSlam, happened on SmackDown. So, no Aleister Black for SummerSlam, no Andrade for SummerSlam, no Rey Mysterio, no Roman Reigns, no Samoa Joe, no Daniel Bryan, no Cedric Alexander, and no Drew McIntyre. That's 8 names you should be pushing in WWE, and none of them are on SummerSlam. That just shows you, like, yeah, but we need to see Kevin Owens versus Shane McMahon. If Shane McMahon beats Kevin Owens has to quit. Shane McMahon loses, nothing happens. We need to see that. Of course, you had The Fiend getting off to a good start at SummerSlam, which is kind of ironic because wasn't SummerSlam a couple years ago when wasn't that Bray Wyatt's first match against Kane in that Ring of Fire? Wasn't that like his first big match was at SummerSlam? When I think of a different pay-per-view. So yeah, not much really happening on SmackDown outside of that. Of course, Trish Stratus was on SmackDown to confront her SummerSlam opponent. Yes, Big E and Daniel Bryan, Big E and Xavier Woods and the New Day took on Rowan and Daniel Bryan. Sami Zayn and Aleister Black put on a pretty much forgettable match. That match really didn't do anything for anyone. It was supposed to be Rey Mysterio versus Dolph Ziggler. Dolph Ziggler attacked him at the beginning of the match. Before the match happened, Ali came down, got sacrificed to Dolph Ziggler because Dolph Ziggler... And again, I said this on Tuesday's review. The fans who were sitting there in wherever they were at, and as soon as Goldberg's music hits, they pop. Like, oh my god, it's Goldberg, he's here. Are you people that stupid? Dolph Ziggler has been imitating and mocking WWE legends for the last 2 years. So him having someone else's music come on. If Dolph Ziggler's not out in the arena, you can definitely probably tell it's probably going to be Dolph Ziggler 95% of the time. But Monday Night Raw, SmackDown Live, it is what it is. SmackDown is just not where they want it to be. SmackDown, yes, the ratings were up. Both Raw and SmackDown ratings were up, which, of course, it's SummerSlam's go-home shows. I was not surprised that the ratings were up. It would have been absolutely horrible for WWE if this week of all weeks, the Raw and SmackDown ratings were in the toilet and even lower than before. Next week, and all the way up to Survivor Series will be a telling sign. All the way up to October, I should say. From August 12th to October 2nd. Every day that there's a Raw and SmackDown, if the ratings continue to dip from here on out, it is because they don't care. This should be the time, especially on SmackDown, between August 13th and October 2nd. They should be putting out bang at the bang at the bang at the banging shows that are top to bottom some of the best shows we have seen in the last 5-6 years. SmackDown should be going out there and showing us why it moving to Fox is going to be a big deal. We should be seeing great matches. I don't want to see the WWE Championship defended every other show or in every show. I want to see logic. I want to see good wrestling. I want to see good promos, good promo segments. I don't want to see New Day acting like a bunch of jack-offs because they can. Give me some serious time and effort, and give me good shows. Raw doesn't really have to do anything because they're staying on the USA Network. But have SmackDown go out there, kick ass, take names, and be like, when it gets, and make it so that when it goes from USA to Fox, it means something. That last episode in September that you're going to be watching is going to be that show has to be good, because it's like, hey, do you think this show it's got to be like, you can't have like the last episode on USA Network be like completely terrible, because you have a week and 3 days before SmackDown will be seen again. In September, all the way into October, you're going to see SmackDown. Then we're going to go an entire week and then 3 more days before we get to SmackDown on Fox. So I'm sure Fox will have some kind of show a day or two before SmackDown goes on the air. If the night that AEW makes its debut, because AEW is going to make its debut 2 days beforehand. It would not surprise me if Fox puts a show on Wednesday night, the last Wednesday in September. I don't know what the day is off the top of my head, but they have an episode, they have something there to introduce you to SmackDown as it gets to Fox. That is going to be interesting. We are actually not that far away. It's kind of crazy. We're less than 2 months away from Fox getting SmackDown. But that last episode that's on the USA Network needs to be a damn good show, and built to being a damn good show, and have things on that show that are going to bleed into the show on Fox, the first episode on Fox, so when we get to Fox, it's going to be a great show. I don't want, like, they're talking about how the first episode on Fox is going to be like celebrating 20 years of SmackDown because it is the 20th anniversary. Honestly, I think that is an absolute terrible idea. You need to build your audience to want to come watch SmackDown on Friday nights on Fox. If you're going to have The Rock, DX, Stone Cold Steve Austin, and other legends like you had at the Raw reunion on Fox for that first episode, you're not doing yourself any favors for SmackDown. SmackDown, it would just be like, oh, well, nothing's going to be built till next week, so why should I watch this episode? Oh, look, there's Stone Cold Steve Austin. Oh, look, there's The Rock. There's Triple H and Shawn Michaels with DX, because we have to do a DX reunion every time we do one of these shows. It's just a bad idea. The 20th anniversary of... Isn't the 20th anniversary of SmackDown in August anyway? August or September? So that should be the final episode. Here's what you should do. If you want to do the 20th anniversary, the 20th anniversary should be the final episode we see on the USA Network. Send the USA Network version of SmackDown out with a bang. That's what you should get. Are they going to do that? Oh, hell no, they won't do that. But that is SmackDown Raw, of course, this week. NXT, again, really nothing to talk about. I mean, yes, the video package or the final thing that you saw on NXT for this video package of Johnny Gargano and Adam Cole didn't even feel like it was like a normal video package. It felt like a trailer or a snippet from a movie that was going to be at the Adam Cole and Johnny Gargano story. Like, this huge rivalry was being made into like a big, huge movie, and this was like a snippet from that movie. That's what that felt like. All the other video packages felt like the same thing. It just felt like they made Johnny Gargano versus Adam Cole 3 feel like the biggest deal in the world for NXT TakeOver Toronto, which is, of course, happening. The pre-show should be happening in a few minutes as I'm recording this. I'll get to the main show in quick time. But let's get into the news for the week as Monday Night Raw, SmackDown Live, NXT, and AEW news, and outside of AEW, WWE news has hit as well. Roman Reigns says calling the AEW competition is generous as he talks about his buddy Seth Rollins. Former Universal Champion Roman Reigns recently took some time to speak to Sport 1 in Germany about current happenings taking place in the world of professional wrestling, including the launch of AEW on TNT. Reigns has had a firm statement for the people that dare to disrespect the company his family has spent generations developing. WWE, his content, he's content if the stance he holds has people considering him one of the locker room leaders amongst the other superstars. He said, and I quote, "I'll be damned if anyone is going to disrespect what we do here, especially within our company. If you're within our walls, within our locker room, and not handling your business the right way, I have no problem with stepping up. I fear no man, and if you don't like what I'm coming for, there's a couple of options we can do. I firmly believe in the history that my family has had in this business, the relationship they've had with the McMahons and WWE, and I'll be damned if anyone disrespects our way of life. I've been fed, and I've fed my family for years now from the meals plan, this meal plan, and I'm not going to let anyone step on that. If that makes me a locker room leader, then yeah, you can call me that," end quote. I have nothing to say about that. If that's his feeling, his family, he was born into the wrestling business with his family. His family, of course, was Rocky Johnson and Peter Maivia and the Wild Samoans, Rikishi, the Head Shrinkers, himself, the Usos, and everyone else. It's just his family. And that's his opinion. Everyone's allowed to have their opinion. Is he right? He needs to kind of let the word disrespect out there, because we, like, fans, if he's talking about fans disrespecting, or like a John Moxley disrespecting WWE with their comments, well, WWE disrespects their fans on a weekly basis, disrespects majority of their talent on a weekly basis by having them go out there and do stupid shit. Remember Uzi? Remember the shaved back incident for the Revival? Yeah, that shit's disrespecting talent for no reason other than the fact that Vince McMahon thinks it's funny. So him using the word disrespect, he kind of should look at the landscape of WWE and see, hey, yeah, John Moxley might have been sounding a little disrespectful because he went out there for 2 hours and buried WWE on Talk Is Jericho. But WWE disrespected him by having him do shit that he thought was hokey as fuck. The doctor with the needles and stuff, yeah. Or the going out with a gas mask on, having a bunch of guys wearing gas masks and all that shit. Just wasn't good. That wasn't good television, and that was insulting our intelligence, and really made Dean Ambrose at the time look terrible. So, yeah. Reigns also commented on the popularity developing company that is AEW, although he does appreciate that this creates another alternative product for fans. Reigns thinks that WWE is much more ahead of the curve on production scale, which absolutely I agree with that. WWE is, in the wrestling business, though, is leaps and bounds over anybody when it comes to production. They just are. I think Seth Rollins is being generous in calling them a competition, which, if I'm correct, didn't Seth Rollins say they weren't competition? The only people who have called it competition are Stephanie McMahon and her own father. I believe Triple H has called it competition too, but I don't think he has. But yeah, from what I've only seen or heard, only Vince McMahon and Stephanie McMahon have called it competition. Seth Rollins said it wasn't competition. I don't want to get too deep into this. I said it before, it's an opinion, it's an option, and that's great for professional wrestling, which 100% it is. Even if WWE and AEW don't ever clash or anything, it's an alternative. Not everybody is cut out to be in WWE. That is proven fact. Even with all the bullshit that Vince McMahon goes through and fucks over everybody, there are people who go to WWE and WWE pushes them to the moon. They fall flat on their face. They go somewhere else and they're a much better star just because they couldn't hack it, just because they couldn't do the WWE style. There's nothing wrong with that. So yes, it is an option, and as many options as there are is a benefit for professional wrestling. Pretty cool for fans. Before my family was WWE only, we've been a territorial family. We had to move, work with different promotions and territories. I'm always going to be pro wrestling, but at the end of the day, WWE is my home. It's what I represent, and we're so far ahead. Now, yes, he says his family is WWE only. That's absolutely not true, because there are Fatus and other members of his family that wrestle independents. You had his cousin Lance, who was a what was that? That feud that he had with Shane McMahon, wasn't it? Yeah, where his cousin Lance was there. Lance doesn't work for WWE. Lance is an independent wrestler. Rikishi still does stuff on the independents. Other members of his family work in the independent wrestling. Yeah, WWE only, maybe for like the Usos, Rikishi, for when he's doing anything big, and Roman Reigns, and maybe The Rock. But there are members of the Fatu family. I'm not going to try and say their actual name because I just can't say it right. The Fatu family actually wrestle in independence. So yeah, it's great to see. And yes, he's not saying it's competition because AEW is not competition. There is no reason to say they are. Why would you want to compete with WWE anyway outside of NXT? Because WWE relies way too much on nostalgia acts. Why the fuck would anybody want to compete with that? Why would you not want to push younger talents over a Undertaker, Goldberg, Scott Hall, Kevin Nash, Hulk Hogan, Ric Flair, Stone Cold Steve Austin? Yeah, AEW's got it right now to go and push guys that we never heard of or barely have seen. Alternative is the word that goes. I am tired of people saying competition because, yes, Vince McMahon is always going to take it as competition. Cody Rhodes, the Young Bucks, Kenny Omega, Tony Khan, or anybody else in AEW, Chris Jericho, John Moxley can say, we're not competition. Vince McMahon is always going to see it as competition. Let's see. You can see it in other shows. It's not easy to have a clean production, Romans continued. You have to have a lot of experience. Our talent is top notch. We got main eventers for days, but it's also our crew. They're busting their asses all night to get the shows running. There are so many people that make this place work. When we see other people out there trying to do it, you see the flaws, and it makes you respect what we do even more. It is easy complaining to say that this on paper, but when it's time to go out there and actually do it, nobody will do it like WWE, period. Yes, you have to have experience, and that's going to just happen on the job. I don't care what anyone says. You can take as many classes as you want to try and better yourself. Until you're on job doing something, it's not going to get any better. AEW's production at the start is not going to be anywhere close to WWE. No matter how much Tony Khan, Shad Khan put money in, it's not going to be on par, and it shouldn't be on par. They don't need to take and have AEW on TNT be shot the way WWE is. Find your niche, find your way to shoot the show, and the show will be better in that way. So, AEW, like Roman Reigns, AEW is competition without being competition. And yes, the production for now is going to be WWE. If you're trying to base the competition on AEW between AEW and WWE on competition, you're just fooling yourself, plain and simple. Well, we know when Saudi Arabia is going to be happening again for WWE. It will be set on October 31st, a Thursday, according to new reports from PW Insider. This is the Halloween edition on the Halloween holiday. This will take place at the Kingdom Saudi University Stadium in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. It's noted that the event will be titled Crown Jewel 2019. So, yeah. Crown Jewel 2019 will be the fourth event under the 10-year deal with Saudi General Sports Authority. An official announcement should be coming soon, which we probably won't hear until October, until SmackDown's on Fox as it is. WWE's last run in the Kingdom Saudi University Stadium in November 2018 was the first Crown Jewel. It is reported that WWE had Friday, November 1st scheduled for the event on Saudi Arabia, but that could have changed to the day before because they will have a live SmackDown on Fox episode airing on November 1st from the Prudential Center in Newark, New Jersey. Now, here's the thing. Halloween. Usually you see the Freddy movies or the Jason movies or the Michael Myers movies on the Halloween, Friday the 13th and what is the other one? The scary movies, the horror movies on AMC. They're marathoning them the entire time. Or you go and you pick up yourself some horror movies like Saw or Annabelle or any of these things. And you just sit at home, you plop down on the couch and you watch a couple scary movies. WWE is trying to get into that field because on October 31st, we're going to see Crown Jewel 2019. What a horrible, horrible show. Now, with the fact that Crown Jewel is happening on the 31st, and of course that's a Thursday and not a Friday, would we see a Roman Reigns at Crown Jewel? Would we see a Rusev? Would we see an Andrade? Would we see... Aleister Black's not going to be there. You could have the big stars go to Saudi Arabia, and then SmackDown that week could be the lesser-known guys, like a Aleister Black, who's not going to Crown Jewel. That could be a women-heavy show, because the women aren't allowed in Saudi Arabia. Are you going to watch Crown Jewel 2019? I'm not, because I don't believe WWE should be in bed with Saudi Arabian government. So I wouldn't want to watch it, and I don't think anyone else should really be watching it. WWE set to be preempted for SmackDown 2000 and on October 25th. This is, of course, because of the World Series. The World Series, of course, is happening. It always happens at the end of October into the beginning of November. Game 3 is going to be happening October 25th. Now, the reason that this show is to be preempted is because of Game 3. To anybody who doesn't really follow sports, and if you do follow sports, Game 3 of a 7-game series is the most important game of the entire series. It's not the one that you're going to win the series, which would be Game 4, Game 5, or Game 6, or Game 7. It's Game 3. It's like, so Game 3, you're tied 1-1. You win Game 3, the momentum goes in your favor, and you could win Game 4 and Game 5 in there. You're up 2-0, and you win Game 3. You're up 3-0, most likely winning Game 4. If you're down 2-0 and you win Game 3, the momentum could turn to your side, and you win Game 4, you win Game 5, and then you win Game 6, and you're done. Or you get it to Game 7 because you won Game 3. Game 3 is one of the most important games for the World Series that will be seen in October. So, not a surprise that they're going to be doing that on October 25th. Oh, Seth Rollins. You just cannot keep your mouth shut, can you? Seth Rollins has been really hurting him and WWE's image on social media and in interviews. He's gone to social media battle with Will Ospreay. It's funny because he's dating the Queen of Savage, or the Queen of Twitter Savageness in Becky Lynch. And this guy goes into a Twitter battle with Will Ospreay and pretty much just embarrasses himself. Then he goes on to an interview and talks about Will Ospreay, about Jon Moxley, and just makes himself look like a fool. Again, the battles and beatdowns that Brock Lesnar has been giving to Seth Rollins the past 2 weeks feel like it's punishment by WWE. They took the Universal Championship off of him because of his actions. Well, before his Universal Championship match against Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam, Seth Rollins spoke to the Daily Star about intergender wrestling and his thoughts on social media. In regards to intergender wrestling, Rollins says, much like in the Olympics, men and women should compete separately, noting that wrestling there should be at least some realism still in play during matches. Realism in wrestling, yeah, there should be a little bit, but there are places for it, Rollins began, but this full of independent-style women versus men matches where the women are chokeslamming the men are businesses based on realism. A little bit. So let's do this. Let's do that as best we can. I think let's live in a reality and a little bit here. I'm not saying women aren't as good as men, but because that is not the case. But there is a reason when you go to the Olympics, there are men and women's sports. There is a reason you have men and women's soccer, men and women's basketball. It is not they aren't as talented or they are not as good as athletes, but you just need to break it up. There are women out there who are incredible. This is WWE, where one of the most over-the-top and longest-running characters is a guy named The Undertaker, who, when he started out, was a mortician, then he became a biker, and then he became a dead biker. You have Kane, who, for about 6 years, wore a mask and bodysuit because, in his mind, we were always told that this guy had burns all over him, but it turned out to be fake. They weren't not fake. They turned out to be in his head. It's like, you have, this past Monday, you have a car hit Roman's car, and then when that car backs up and speeds away, there's no damage on that car. Realism, Seth? This is professional wrestling. You throw realism out of the window. The fact that you want to sit there and say, just go watch Slammiversary. Go watch Tessa Blanchard versus Sami Callihan. That was a damn good match. I did not see anything about Unbreakable because they had a rematch which Sami Callihan became the #1 contender. Women versus men matches happened in the 90s. You had, or the late, like 1999, when you had Chris Jericho versus China versus Jeff Jarrett. So sit there and say, oh, we're based in realism. Seth Rollins, you gotta be kidding me, right, dude? You have, let me think here. You have a guy who puts face paint on, or body paint on him in his face and body, and acts like a wild animal and the demon. Yet this is based in realism. Give me a break, man. You can't compare professional wrestling to the Olympics, basketball, baseball, hockey, or anything else. Those are legit sports, even though you see women trying to play with the men all the time. So saying that, oh, it's based in realism, give me a break. With social media, Rollins had a couple run-ins with the masses after calling WWE the best wrestling on the planet, even though WWE knows that wrestling, like we know WWE sees wrestling as a bad word, and then having a back and forth with Will Ospreay during their conversation. Rollins wanted to compare bank accounts, drawing the ire of fans. Rollins would later apologize for the comments. It took him about a week to apologize too. But yeah, when one of the best wrestlers in the world is pretty much just saying, hey, I'm alive, I do what I do better than anyone else, and you say, oh yeah, look at my bank account because I'm making way more money than you. Kinda you lose right there, Rollins, plain and simple. When asked about Twitter, Rollins referred to it as a cesspool of negativity. I will agree on that, noting that he can't wrap his head around the platform and the general negativity in the world. It's funny because it's not just wrestling, it's not just WWE, that's kind of how it is in the world. Twitter seems to be the cesspool of negativity where it's so easy to focus on what you don't like rather than what you do like. People seem to band around negativity. I don't know if it's one of those misery loves company type things. Before it used to be you would hang out with 3 or 4 of your friends and talk about how you don't like things. Now you hang out with 3 or 400 of your friends and talk about how you don't like things. I don't know, maybe you get more responses on negative tweets or whatever. It's just frustrating. I come from an era when we didn't have social media. When I was a teenager, it was before social media was a thing. It's about trying to adapt to the culture, but not really understanding why we use it so much for negativity. Even things like petitioning for a Game of Thrones reshoot on the final season, or complaining about the Little Mermaid being black, mixed. But you know, I just can't wrap my head around it. Maybe I'm too old. I don't think it's a productive part of society when it's just negative the whole time. Yes, here's the thing. Negative tweets, negative things like that, yes, are going to get more views. More people are going to watch. Why do you think people who actually are good at this get more views when they talk negatively about WWE than they do positively? People like to see people bitch about things. It's just like when you have video, like the shootings we had. The shootings we had for El Paso and Dayton. People wanted to blame violent video games. And that was a great scapegoat for them. But if you have a group of guys, a group of friends, go out there and they do a fundraiser, or a fundraiser where they're going to do a gaming tournament, and all the proceeds go to a local charity, and they raise maybe $100,000. You know what? The media is not going to cover that because that's putting video games in a positive light. Everybody loves negative. Everybody likes to talk about the negatives. The positives do not bring out. The positives don't bring out the views. That's why, yes, it's a cesspool of negativity because that's what sells. That's why when you watch things on, that's why you watch things on Afghanistan or Iran or Mexico or all these other places. You hear more negative than you do positive because negativity sells over positive. That's just the plain truth right there. But Seth Rollins really needs to sit down with Becky Lynch and learn how to do a social media game, because she's on point all the time. She's savage as can be, and Seth Rollins just sounds like a condescending prick sometimes. And quite honestly, if this is how he acts on social media and in interviews, turn the guy heel so he's actually playing a character that meshes with his outside character, because him being a babyface hasn't worked in a long time. Fox exec comments on SmackDown ratings. Fox SVP of Sales Mark Evans spoke with the big lead about the changes coming down the road with Fox. Evans discussed Fox looking to expand their football coverage as well as getting back into hockey, which I think NBC owns the entire rights to the NHL, so I think they'd have to go somewhere else. Evans also asked about SmackDown Live debuting on Friday nights on Fox this October, and if he is concerned that WWE ratings are trending downwards. This is what he said, and I quote, "We feel how we're going to present and how we're going to promote the WWE is going to inject in it with such a new life. It's going to be a home run for us." I don't care how well you promote something. Yes, promotion is everything. If you promote something and get 1,000 people on your thing, you did your job. If the product doesn't improve to where people want to sit around and watch 2 hours of wrestling on a Friday night, especially in October when school's going on and they want that teenage demographic, what do teenagers do on the weekends all the time, especially during school time? They go hang out with friends. They go out to bonfires, to parties, to whatever, depending on where you're at in the world. They go out and hang out. I mean, I didn't because I wasn't a social guy like other people, but you know what I mean. That demographic that they want to try and hit, they got to try and sell SmackDown to. You could promote it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday when SmackDown's not on. And doesn't matter if the product is terrible, the ratings aren't going to show. Yes, Fox is in a lot more homes than USA Network because all you need to watch Fox is a set of rabbit ears. That's all you need. A set of rabbit ears and an antenna around that can pick up the signal. That's all you need. And yes, those do count towards the ratings. But Fox, WWE officially announced in June 2018 that SmackDown would be moving to Fox. At that time, SmackDown ratings had been seeing a year-to-year increase. However, the audience had been falling by double-digit cents. SmackDown in 2015, while it was still on the Sci-Fi, was at 2.34. Moved to USA Network, went live on Tuesdays in July, 2.42. 2.55 million in 2017. That number is absolutely wrong unless you don't count the time that Jinder Mahal was champion. Then it dropped to 2.35 last year, and so far through 7/31, which is the end of last month, SmackDown has been at a 1.99 million. That is absolutely terrible. That's a minus 15% over last year. If it continues to trend like that going into Fox ain't going to be happy. Fox met with WWE about SmackDown moving to the network on May 17, 2018. Until that point, SmackDown had an average of 2.6 million viewers. From the year following the meeting, the show averaged 2.2 viewers for the rest of the year, dropping off 15%. Not a good thing. Fox CEO was then asked about a contingency plan if SmackDown ratings don't improve. My contingency plan is I cancel SmackDown, void the agreement because you can't keep up your end of the bargain, and then we wipe our hands clean and find something else for Friday nights. And a deal which cost Fox billions of dollars to bring SmackDown to its broadcast networks for the next 5 years. Concerns have started to raise by the critics about the television ratings decline for WWE programming as of late. Fox Entertainment CEO Charlie Collier was asked by the Wrap at the Television Critics Association press tour about whether there are protectors in place about should SmackDown not bring in the ratings expected when it makes its move in the fall. For the most part, Collier deflected the question because of course they would, because they don't have actual contingency plans. They fully expect to go into this SmackDown and expect the highest ratings SmackDown has seen in a long while. And I'm just going to have to tell them, unless SmackDown improves, that's not going to happen. SmackDown used to be, SmackDown in 2016, if they would have built off that momentum, had nothing to do but go up. We got to WrestleMania, we got Jinder Mahal the championship, and it just went downhill from there. I'm a guy that came out of cable, Collier said. And for the last few decades in cable, what's driven the number one network has been wrestling. Bullshit. Absolute bullshit. As for us to have constant presence in Sterling, in reference to his comments, Collier was talking about USA Network, which will keep the Raw on Monday nights. SmackDown, which airs on Tuesdays at the same network, will make its move to Fox and shift to Friday nights this October. In terms of protectors, this is a company that historically really leaned into the NFL at a time where I think no one thought Fox could do so, and they turned out to become the leading purveyor of the NFL. And we're leaning into WWE with just as much enthusiasm. When asked if Fox is committed to SmackDown for the full 5 years, regardless of viewership rise or fall, Collier said yes. Bullshit. Bullshit. That is a bullshit reply. Everyone knows Fox will cancel you like that if you don't have the what I want to say, the ratings they want you to have. If SmackDown, which is at a 1 most of the time, drops to a 1.5 or lower, SmackDown will be canceled on Fox. Don't give me that they're going to be committed for 5 years whether the viewership falls. Bullshit. TV ratings have been, for WWE, have rebounded slightly in recent weeks with the introduction of Paul Heyman and Eric Bischoff as executive directors for Raw and SmackDown. However, ratings are down double digits since WWE signed the television deal with Fox last year. Yeah, well, I don't see Fox keeping WWE for the next 5 years. I just don't see it happening. There is just too much that's going to go wrong for that entire thing. WWE is not going to get the ratings that Fox wants. And then Fox is going to have to sit there and be like, we gave these guys $1 billion, and all they've done is just disappoint us left and right. Why the hell are we doing this? So, well, Fox, here's the thing. I don't think by this time next year Fox will have SmackDown anymore. I just don't see it happening. Why would they keep WWE and SmackDown if the ratings continue to fall? WWE's never done that. I mean, Fox has never done that. They usually just say, you know what? We're done. We're just going to continue on and go on from there. Bobby Fish's calls Mauro Ranallo the greatest voice in modern sports. Absolutely 110%. NXT star Bobby Fish posted a photo on Instagram of the Undisputed Era with Mauro Ranallo and wrote a touching tribute to the NXT commentator. Fox Fish wrote how Ranallo is an inspiration to him and that he's the greatest force in modern sports entertainment commentary. Where he wrote, and I quote, "The bipolar rock and roller is undisputed. Mauro Ranallo, you my brother, you are an inspiration to me. I have to remind myself that this is my life. I am living while I hear your iconic voice laying down the soundtrack to a match that I am part of. Truly one of the kind you are, and it's my honor to call you my friend. You, sir, are the voice of NXT, and as long as this is the case, I want to be nowhere else. Take over Toronto. I hope you're ready. Undisputed Era, along with the greatest voice in modern sports entertainment commentary, will not disappoint." Do you need to say any more? Bobby Fish just put it out there right there. This dude is awesome. I love when we have a takeover. I don't think they did it for 25. I don't think they did it for the last takeover. I believe they did it for takeover Phoenix or wherever they were at in January, where they'll have because they have cameras. They have cameras focused on the commentators, so they can do sign language or relay with anything back to everyone that they like if they need something or something. So what they did a couple times is that Mauro Ranallo does commentary, and they take the video footage of that camera because the microphone works. It's hooked up. It has a speaker on it, so you can actually hear what the people are saying. And they cut it down. They don't do the whole show, but they cut it down and they put these highlights on YouTube. I fucking love that shit because it just shows Mauro Ranallo has a passion for what he's doing. It's like 5, 6, 7, 8 minutes of just pure awesomeness. It's good. It's comedy. It's comedic to me because it makes you laugh with how eccentric he gets. I'm not meaning that in a bad way. It's just he gets so eccentric and so over the top that it's just so goddamn fun. Mauro Ranallo, it was a damn shame when SmackDown when he left SmackDown because of the shit with JBL. JBL should never be allowed to commentate again. He is a piece of shit. Whether he wants to admit it or not, JBL is an absolute piece of shit. And I'm just glad Triple H knew, well, this guy is a fucking talent, and we would be foolish not to have him under the WWE banner, so I'm going to put him in NXT. He's been in NXT for, 3 years now? And has been killing it every single step of the way. I don't want him to move the Monday Night Raw. I don't want him to move the SmackDown Live. He is perfect for NXT. He does real sports. He does, I believe, Showtime boxing still. He does MMA. And he is just one of the absolute greatest that you will hear. And he is the modern day JR for WWE. Like JR in AEW. I'm not even going to get into that right now, but he is the modern day JR. He is that good. Bobby Lashley out till November. He had some elbow surgery. He'll be back in the beginning of November, probably around Survivor Series build time. So that is speedy recovery to him. Everybody, it's just injuries after injuries after injuries. It's a damn shame that people continue to get injured, but that is part of the grind. Longtime game WWE developer parts ways. This one was a shocker. I don't think anyone saw this coming. Tuesday, publisher 2K Sports and WWE developer Yuke's officially parted ways. After a 20-year partnership between Yuke's and WWE, according to the PlayStation Lifestyle, Yuke's senior vice president and producer Hiromi Furuta revealed that they had been waiting to go in a new direction for quite some time now. It was also expressed by Furuta that she had concerns with their relationship with 2K Sports due to the recent decline in sales, which began after the release of 2K18. Furuta mentioned that her team is planning on creating their own wrestling IP with the intention of now competing with their once former ally. Did anyone say an AEW game? Anybody? Anybody? I'm just kidding. We're aware that our creators are beginning to lose sight of their passion and confidence and becoming focused only on completing assigned tasks. That's what happens when you work with 2K. You get a launch window and that's all you get to do. You don't get to have passion. You don't get to enjoy what you're doing. You have to complete tasks and that is it. In many cases, we're still using old assets and we're not able to do some things in the way that we want to. We are trying to launch a new wrestling game, of course. We will retain the WWE team. We are also aware that our creators are beginning to lose sight of their passion and confidence and becoming focused only on completing assigned tasks. That's not the direction Yuke's wants to go in, so in order to compensate, we're going to start a new wrestling project. Taking Yuke's place will be Visual Concepts, a studio which helped co-develop WWE 2K series since 2013. No goddamn wonder the 2K games have been a fucking shit. Visual Concepts should be nowhere near 2K games. Visual Concepts are fucking horrendous when it comes to like these games. They are the ones who are like, you want to know why these games have been fucking shit? Visual Concepts is fucking horrendous. Name me one good fucking game that they've done on their own. Don't say Guitar Hero because that wasn't them. These games have been shit since 2K took over. THQ knew what the fuck they were doing. THQ had the passion. THQ gave a fuck about these damn games. It's a damn shame that THQ had to go out of business at the time. It's THQ Nordic now because Nordic Games bought them out, bought their name and everything, but it's just a damn shame we have to sit there and suffer every single year. The 2K license needs to be revoked. THQ Nordic needs to get in a meeting with WWE and get the WWE name back, the WWE game back. They made WWE 12, or I think it was 12, yeah. I think WWE 12 was the last manageable one. It was actually no, that was SmackDown vs. Raw 2012. Because the next year is WWE 13, I believe, in which they had the opening, what do you want to call it? The trailer for the game was a Randy Orton promo. It was WWE 13. Then they were in the middle of WWE 14, and THQ had to go out of business. 2K pulled up the license, and that game was still a THQ game, and 2K just pretty much polished up what they could because it was too far into development that they couldn't build. They couldn't do their own thing. And then you got 2K, and 2K decided, let's slow the game down. Let's make it as realistic as possible, even though people don't want 100% realism. We want simulated. We want to be able to have fun, and they taking the fun out. They took out a majority of the fucking, they took out, in the first year, I think 2K15, which was the one that they first did, they decided we're going to just scrap everything that was being worked on. Everything. We're going to take out all the matches that we wanted. We're going to take out a lot of the shit that fans want, and we're just going to give you bare bones. And the game has been shit ever since. The game's not going to get any better. THQ was the last time this game actually meant something. It's like, I am so... I just cannot, buy... I've owned every single SmackDown game from SmackDown to WWE SmackDown vs. Raw 2012, SmackDown vs. Raw 2012, plus WWE 13, 2K14, and I believe 2K15 and 16. It just continued to get worse and worse and worse. 2K is just, all they care about is money. They don't care about if the games are good. It's a damn shame that Ukes couldn't keep the 2K license, or to keep the WWE license and get rid of 2K. But I can't wait to see what Ukes comes out with, and hopefully it blows whatever WWE games are out of the water. Yeah, using the same assets for your games gets old very quick. So, not surprised. Not surprised one bit. Boston, moving on here. Boston to host SummerSlam next year. With SummerSlam taking place this Sunday, August 11th, inside the Scotiabank Arena in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, fans are expecting an announcement for next year's show. We didn't have to wait long to find out, and WWE announced to the Boston Globe that SummerSlam 2020 will be taking place in Boston. So the takeover next year will be Takeover Boston. That's going to be that could be awesome. I can't wait to see what the logo is next year. We are thrilled to bring WWE's biggest event of the summer to Boston in 2020, said Executive VP of Special Events John P. Sapor. We are grateful for Mayor Walsh, Governor Baker, and our partners at TD Gardens, and look forward to working with them to welcome the world to one of America's greatest sports and entertainment cities. Of course, with the way SmackDown is moving to Fox, the lineup will be Friday for SmackDown, NXT on Saturday, Sunday for SummerSlam, and Monday for Monday Night Raw. This marks the first time that Boston has had a host of SummerSlam since 2006. Also inside the TD Garden after the event, Hulk Hogan defeated Randy Orton, DX defeated the McMahons, and Edge defeated John Cena to retain the WWE Championship. So if you're looking forward to SummerSlam, awesome to go to Boston. If you live in the Boston area, I'm sure people are going to have a lot of fun time. Hopefully by this time next year, I will be in a much better place financially, and maybe I can make a trip to SummerSlam weekend and watch SummerSlam. Probably at a hotel or something. I probably wouldn't want to go into the arena. I'm not somebody who's ever been to an actual live event. I would love to go one. It's just, I don't do well with, like, big crowds. Just saying. Let's see here. Oh, yeah, Mae Young Classic. It's August. It's August. Where's the announcement of the Mae Young Classic? Last year at this time, the Mae Young Classic was announced at WrestleMania when they did that. Coming soon to the WWE Network. The Mae Young Classic was in that graphic. We haven't heard anything, and it's August. The Mae Young Classic last year, and the year before that, was taped in August. We haven't heard anything yet. It will be making an announcement on the 2019 Mae Young Classic soon, with Triple H confirming during this week's media call. They have been working to finalize some plans and will be making an announcement soon. We're in the process of working some things out and finalizing some stuff, and hopefully we'll be having an announcement soon of all that, he said when asked about the 2019 Women's Tournament. They gotta hurry soon because 2019 will be done soon. Yes, all they have to do is contact... Here's my thing. There is a lot of women that we have not seen from the Performance Center, I'm pretty sure. You could have half of that bracket be the women from the Performance Center, while you have the other half be women from independents or other companies that you want to use, like you did with Allison Kay last year, Ashley Rain, a.k.a. Madison Rain, and so on and so forth. Mae Young Classic, I wish they would do another Cruiserweight Classic, you know. Mae Young Classic this year, have 3 years of Mae Young Classic, and then we get to the Cruiserweight Classic next year, and then you want to do another 3 Mae Young Classics, fine. But the Mae Young Classic supposedly is coming this year, so anybody wondering where it's at, it is coming. Lance Storm, former WWE and WCW star, announced on Twitter on Friday that his wrestling school will be closing. Storm wrote that the upcoming 2019 September training session at Storm Wrestling Academy will be his last, and at the end of the year, SWA will be closing. Those who signed up to the 2020 sessions were already notified. He started SWA in 2005. Calgary, Alberta, Canada stars Tyler Breeze. Impact star Danielle Dashwood, Peyton Royce, Oni Lorcan, and Chelsea Green, as well as Tyra Valkyrie, were just a few names that trained under the Storm's Wrestling Academy. In a statement, Storm also reassured fans that this is not done with wrestling industry and will make an announcement about his future at a later date. He explained that it's time for him once again to redirect his life and wrestling career. Now, I've never been in wrestling school, but every time you hear, at least a couple times, I've heard on like interviews or something, people mention that when they wanted to get in the wrestling business, somebody always referred to them the Storm Wrestling Academy. You've had people like, again, Chelsea Green, Danielle Dashwood, Peyton Royce, Orny Lorcan, and much, much more. Tyra Valkyrie, Gail Kim probably went through that as well. So many superstars that you see in Impact Wrestling, AEW most likely too, TNA, beforehand. even WWE have probably spent time in the Storm Wrestling Academy. He has one more session in September. If you're able to sign up and you want to be a professional wrestler, sign up and learn from one of the best teachers out there. Now, with Storm Wrestling Academy going out of business, where is he going? Apparently, he's probably going to be signing full-time with Impact Wrestling as a producer. He's been working there as a producer and probably wants to focus on being a producer for Impact Wrestling. So it would not surprise me if that's what he's going to do. We've seen a lot of greats come and go through the Storm Wrestling Academy, so it's sad to see it go, but nothing lasts forever. Nothing lasts forever but the NWA National Wrestling Alliance in one form or another. The NWA has been around since like 1950. So, as we know, in 2017, Billy Corgan bought the rights to the NWA and everything. He scrapped the territorial version of the NWA and made it just its own brand. So it's its own wrestling company. They're the NWA. They have the oldest wrestling championship outside of the CMLL championship. And they will have their own TV show soon. NWA president and owner Billy Corgan released a video and announced that the promotion will begin producing a weekly wrestling television soon from Atlanta, Georgia. The first set of the shows will take place on Monday, September 30th, and Tuesday, October 1st. That's got to be wrong because October 1st is in Tuesday. October 1st. Yeah, October 1st, Tuesday, October 1st. No word yet on when the location of tapings where the series will air, but it looks like the studio series will see episodes taped and then re-released periodically like they do with NXT and Impact Wrestling, amongst other promotions. It's one thing to say you're rebooting the NWA, which he kind of did when he bought the company. It's another thing to run matches on someone else's stage. We're grateful to those people who shared the stage with us, most recently Ring of Honor, which was an incredible opportunity, but now it's our time to step forward and it's time to bring the NWA back into the spotlight and run it on its own oxygen. So we're very excited to announce that in October, in Atlanta, we'll be doing our own television again. Corgan went on about how the unpredictability of studio wrestling series from 1970s and 80s stood out to him as a kid. It had a real feeling of chaos and anarchy, and I think that really sold me to as a fan. There was an element of danger, and there was an element of anything can happen. I really want to bring that back to professional wrestling. I think the NWA is the perfect vehicle to do that. The Smashing Pumpkin frontman took ownership of the legendary pro wrestling promotion in October 2017. The current NWA World Champion is Nick Aldis. The current Women's Champion is Allison Kay, a.k.a. Sienna from Impact Wrestling. James Storm is the National Heavyweight Champion, while PCO and Brody King of Villain Enterprise are the current NWA World Tag Team Champions. I'm sure they'll be losing those titles quite quick because they are members of Ring of Honor, and if NWA is going to have their own weekly television show, they probably can't use Brody King and PCO. So, yeah. Moving on to the final bit of news, which is all from the stages of All Elite Wrestling. Hangman Page talks about the creative freedom in AEW, which is something that we wish that the guys on main roster television in WWE got. NXT, according to Adam Cole, gets more creative freedom than you would see on the main roster. Creative freedom is something of why a Dean Ambrose left and jumped off the bridge and came back as Jon Moxley. One of the ways that AEW will attempt to differentiate itself from WWE and other promotions is the creative freedom that will give its talent. Everything won't be scripted from the wrestlers, as they will get to input their own ideas and creativity into their promos and their characters. Page sees nothing but positive in that, as he explained it on Busted Open Radio. I think that is maybe something people are not used to. We have done 3 shows. I haven't, for the first time ever, had someone tell me what to say. I'm doing what I want to do. These things are in my hands. I don't think anyone has 100% complete control in what they are doing at any time. But I think giving more power back to the wrestlers to be creative, I think more than just competing in the ring, I think it's just be creative, which is hard to do when you are not allowed to. I think AEW letting some of those wrestlers have inputs is massive. Absolutely. Now, yes, never, ever, ever give a professional wrestler 100% creative control, because then you have WCW. Hulk Hogan. Then you have a guy like Hulk Hogan. You have a guy like Shawn Michaels back in the day. You have a guy like Triple H back in the day where they had creative control. Don't ever let them have complete creative control. because then that is just not a good. That is not a good recipe. It's a recipe for disaster. It really is. So yes, creative control is definitely something that I want to see. Yes, it should be, in my opinion, 75 to the wrestlers and 25 to the people booking the show. It should be give or take. It should be like 70 to 30, 75, 25, depending on who you are. And of course, yes, the 25 is so that and that's a big 25. That's not a small 25 or a small 20. That is or a small 30. That is a big number because the creative control is let them have their way. Let them do what they think is going to help build their character, but don't let them go overboard, because if you let them go overboard, you have Triple H being Booker T after being completely racist in an entire build towards WrestleMania 19. You have Bret Hart refusing to job to Shawn Michaels and having the whole screw job happen. You have the Bash at the Beach incident in 2000, where Hulk Hogan used his creative control to keep himself from losing to Jeff Jarrett, and then all that shit happened, and so on and so forth. You have Jeff Jarrett being in the world title picture in TNA's early days more than he should have been. There was actually a video on YouTube that Impact Wrestling put out themselves. Every world title change in Impact Wrestling history, from the NWA title to when they started crowning their own. And Jeff Jarrett has 5 or more, I think it's 6 championship reigns in the first 6 years of that company. That is ridiculous. Creative control, yes, never give somebody 100%, because they aren't the ones booking the show. And if you are booking the show 110%, you shouldn't be on TV. Plain and simple. Yes, I know when Vince McMahon was there, he ran the show, but Vince McMahon knew how to pull it back to where he wasn't winning the championships all the time. Yes, he won the WWF Championship in 1999, but it fit into the storyline. It wasn't like Jeff Jarrett, who won the championship, got it taken away, won it again, got it taken away, won it again, 6 times. But it's going to be a breath of fresh air for sure. Let's see what happens. The biggest thing is, like, who can cut a promo, who can't cut a promo. That's going to be a big thing. Speaking of the NWA, as we went to, Nick Aldis was actually offered an AEW contract, and he turned them down. He spoke with Daily DDT about receiving an offer from AEW, but decided to turn it down. Aldis noted that he has spent 2 years building up the NWA and had a tough time just walking away from that. Aldis said he made a counter-offer that would allow him to work for the NWA and AEW, but it sounds like that is still under consideration. He said, "I'll tell you the truth. I was made an offer by AEW. I countered-offer with, I'd like to be able to do both. I'd like to work with them because obviously I have great admiration for Cody and the Bucks and for what they have been able to do, but I wasn't prepared to walk away from the 2 years of work I've done with the NWA." And that was that. I left it open with, if you can find a way to keep doing this in your shows, I'll do your shows. They essentially wanted to offer me a contract and have me walk away from what I'm doing here, and I said that doesn't make any sense to me, really, though. There's no reason to. It's just a hangover from the way things have always been done. Obviously, we hear this change the world phrase a lot. That was my pitch to them. If you really want to change the world, but we can't, and why can't we do that? Because that really would be a change for one guy to work there, but also come in. I'm still on good terms with the Bucks and Cody, and I have very nice conversation with Tony Khan, and everyone's aware of it. Billy Corgan and Dave Lagana were aware of it, and at the time my stance was, if I can do both, then I will do it. And I think that as it shakes out, and everyone starts to realize that the demand will be there for them to with cable TV and stuff like that, those possibilities will be way more apparent in the next coming years from those guys. There's just no way. Here's the thing. There's no way Nick Aldis was walking away from NWA. He has been their champion more times than not. He's helped build that brand back up. Why would he walk away? If he walked away from that, he would be the biggest piece of shit to NWA and would just say, hey, you left to go chase money. I mean, that's what people do, but he has more integrity than that. So, yes, AEW, and with the NWA announcing they're going to have a TV deal, they're only going to be doing TV. There's no way, unless they're going to be partnering with AEW, there's no way you're going to see Nick Aldis doing both. It's just not going to happen. They're not going to be able to. Episodes 2 and 3 have been announced for AEW, where they're going to be going. On October 9th will be in Boston at the Agnes Arena, and October 16th will be Lyricaros Center at Temple University in Philadelphia. At High Intensity 8 last night for House of Glory, the Young Bucks faced the Private Party. After the match, which the Young Bucks won, and a sneak attack by the owner and a couple of guys called the Wrecking Crew. Hangman Page came out, cleared the ring, cut a promo, and then the Young Bucks challenged Private Party to a rematch on the second episode of AEW on TNT to start the tag team tournament. That's going to start off the second episode. That is awesome. The first AEW TV, the ticket prices and the sell dates are going to be August 16th at noon, so next week. Prices for the Boston and Philly shows are going to be $90, $75, $50, and $35, and a $20 charge as well. These prices do not include faculty fees and service charges. So you have a week, 6 days, or 8 days. You have 8 days. Next Friday, it says. From noon, 6 days. You have 6 days to get ready for AEW on TNT Episode 2. Before we get out of here, let's talk about one more thing. At All Out, from the road of All Out, Brandy Rhodes talked about how it will be decided for who would get the first crack at the AEW's Women's Championship and announced the Casino Battle Royal, which name makes no sense for All Out. We're making a return to All Out, the buy-in on August 31st. The inaugural championship will be decided on October 2nd with the first AEW TNT show in Washington, D.C. The winner of the Battle Royal will be the first participant in the match. Rhodes announced Teal Piper, the daughter of legendary Roddy Piper. You also have Jake Roberts. They were doing a dealer deck thing, and they were throwing cards. And he threw one to Ivelisse, Jazz, and who else? I think that was it, yeah. Jazz, Ivelisse, and Teal Piper. Jazz, of course, legend. She's been around for a while. Teal Piper is going to be one that's going to be interesting to look forward to. And, of course, and Jazz, and Ivelisse. Ivelisse, of course, was a member of the Stone Cold version of Tough Enough. She was eliminated, I believe, halfway through the show. Went to Lucha Underground, became a big hit over there. Can't wait to see what she does. 21 women are going to be in this match. We do not have everyone yet. I'm sure we'll find out on the way to All Out. There's got to be at least a surprise or two. We'll have to wait and find out. So far, we have AEW Heavyweight Championship, Chris Jericho versus Hangman Adam Page. Jon Moxley versus Kenny Omega. Ladder match, AAA Tag Team titles, Pentagon Jr. and Phoenix versus the Young Bucks. Shawn Spears versus Cody Rhodes. Best Friends versus the Dark Order. Winners receive a first-round bye in the AEW World Tag Team Championship Tournament. Darby Allin versus Joey Janela versus Jamie Havoc in the Casino Battle Royal on the buy-in. All Out is looking to be an excellent show. Cannot wait till we get there. There is so much news that I missed this week. Make sure to let me know in the comment section below what you think, what I missed. I know there was talk of NXT going to 2 hours live on Fox, on FS1 to counter AEW on TNT, which would be an absolute mistake. WWE is like, oh, well, we have main roster superstars we can put on that show to have an advantage. That would be an absolute mistake to me and something I don't want to see. But hit that subscribe button, comment down below, like or dislike this video, find me on Twitter and twitch.tv/The France Club. Go check out Raw, SmackDown this week, the predictions I did for NXT and NXT TakeOver and Survivor Series for this weekend. Or not Survivor Series, but SummerSlam for this weekend. And let me know what you think of everything we talked about this week. Until then, my name is France, and I'll see you guys later.